Listen up, boy, I'll be a coach. Teaching how to think different with a new approach. I hope you're taking notes. Haters think it's jokes. They got me fired up, but they don't want the smoke.
Boom. Mic check 1 2 1 2, ladies and gentlemen. You're now in the building with your boy Coach K, and this is the first 5, season number 6. We continue the energy, we continue the vibe, and our guest today definitely is going to help us to do that. When we talk about impact, when we talk about inspiration, when we talk about overall energy and taking a situation and turning it into something amazing, something phenomenal to benefit other people, the person I have across from me right now definitely has done that. And granted, I met him first time at a workshop. Actually, no, I'm lying. I met you before. But at the workshop, we were able to talk a bit more, and I invited him on the show because I wanted to, I like to learn more about people, especially in the fitness community, understand their background, why they got started, what it is they get into. And we've been trying to figure out a time that we can make this happen. Fun fact, we actually work across the street from each other. Kettlebell Club is just right across the street from the studio. So it's good that we're in close proximity to be able to have this conversation. I'm going to make sure, I promise you this, I'm going to be at your studio to do a little workout. We're going to do some things together as well. As you know, the first 5 is designed to motivate, inspire, empower, encourage, energize, and educate you, the listener, to do better, move better, and choose better. One step, one rep, and one breath at a time. And definitely we're going to have an inspiring conversation with the one and only Louka Kurcer. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.
I'm really honored to be on your show.
Oh, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. We were talking a bit before we started. Your background story is kind of crazy, but we'll get into that in a little bit more in detail when we talk about that. So just to start from the beginning, you obviously, your background, your experience of things has led you to where you are now. Can you talk a bit more about like why you got started as to what you have built and what you've been doing now for the past 12 years?
Absolutely. So just in a nutshell for the listeners, I was in prison for 7 years.
Okay.
And I spent most of my 20s locked up. And that's where I started my physical training, my physical culture, my journey. And for me to get stronger and to train was an important part of my, you could say, my recovery and me making it through there based on my circumstances.
Right.
And it helped me just get through my time, just do my time.
Yeah.
So I had all this, free opportunity to learn about myself, learn about things I enjoyed, some passions that I developed. And one of them was working out pretty much. So because I had all this time, I started studying, started reading, and starting to getting really into, the results that I really enjoyed from training.
Yeah.
I began my journey just doing calisthenics.
Okay.
And then I went into bodybuilding, strength training. Then I got into kettlebells.
Yeah.
So there was an evolution there. And it didn't happen, right away. It happened over time. But it was something that you could say, latch onto. And it was like something that I could trust. And it was only for myself. It was for no one else. Mm-hmm. When you have something like a skill or something that you could count on, something like you could say that you do every day, day in, day out, it becomes a part of you.
Yeah.
So that's what I became, and I transformed myself. You could say mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
And along the way, I learned a lot. I learned about the human condition. I learned about my mind.
Yeah.
I learned about my body. And so I kept a steady regimen while I was there, and I never stopped.
Yeah.
Really, when I got out, I wanted to keep doing the same thing. And because I was enjoyed learning, and I also enjoyed teaching.
Yeah.
So I told myself I could make this as a career when I got out, and use it as an opportunity to help others.
Okay.
Kettlebells was just a side product of the overall, you could say, mental strength that I gained, or also physical strength.
Right. Because
it was an important quality being there. People respected you. And it was something that people could see in you, that you had this dedication.
Yeah.
That you did regularly.
Yeah.
And people appreciated that. They saw this.
Yeah.
They saw it in you.
Would you say that your experience while you were there was a rehabilitative experience, or was it more of a, you did what you had to do in order to, fulfill your time?
Both.
And then, yeah.
Both.
What about the experience gave you that?
You're there just to kind of get through it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to change.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to come out the same or worse A lot of guys, they come back to prison afterwards when they get out. So I used it more as a way to better myself and decide. I made the decision, say, I'm not going to waste this time. I'm going to come out of here. I'm going to make people proud when I get out. So my friends or my family are going to maybe look up to me and say, man, he really did something with himself.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't waste this time, or he's not into the same stuff that he was when he was out.
Got you.
Right?
Got you. You don't have to go into detail as to what happened, but you did say that, you know, people have asked you before, like the details of what your experience is. And obviously it's something that has molded you into the person that you are today, and you're able to carry that experience. I want to be able to connect the two together, especially with your fitness. So
Absolutely.
How much time did you spend behind bars?
7 years.
7 years. Yeah.
From 21 to 28.
Okay.
And I got out just shy of my 28th birthday.
Okay.
So it was an intense process.
Yeah.
They locked me in jail for many months, which is different than prison. There's a huge difference, actually. When they put you to jail, it's with all kinds of offenders. Anyone that could be like anything from a violent crime to a drug offender or anything. But when they transfer you to a prison, it's based on a scoring system. When you get sentenced, depending on your offense, you get let's say you get to a different level, sort of. So I was at a really low level because it was my first offense, but I got charged and sentenced to a longer time. But where I was, it was sort of like a prison campus, which allowed me access to a weight room. We had inside gym indoors where there was weights. We had access to an outside weight pit on the yard, and there was calisthenics pull-up bars everywhere, pretty much. And I could do calisthenics anywhere in my cell. I could do pull-ups on my door. I could train because of calisthenics basically anytime, anywhere, as I pleased. Yeah. Which was the real beauty of training this way, and what I enjoyed starting and doing. Later, well, when I had access to weights, I took advantage of that, but it wasn't always the case. And I went through different periods, right? I went for many months where just doing calisthenics. I was lucky enough that I got my hands on a book by a Russian named Pavel. And he introduced me to kettlebells. And I really got into his teachings because of the way he explained things, and he made the science behind the technical aspect really user-friendly. Or he put it into layman's terms so everyone can understand it. Right. So I dove really in depth with all those books and his teachings, and I became one of his followers right away. Yeah. And I started to get his magazines on a quarterly basis. Yeah. And there were other aspects of that, like kettlebells, like strength training, like flexibility that he was teaching, and also calisthenics, which I got into as well because we ordered pretty much all his books. Yeah. And so kettlebells was something really cool that I wanted to get into, and one of my pals was working at the rec department and asked the supervisor to order some kettlebells there, and finally we got a couple pairs of kettlebells while I was there. So 6 months before my release, I was able to train with kettlebells and learn from just reading books and looking at the images. Nice. And so when I got out, I signed up for the certification right away, and I got certified as a kettlebell instructor in Toronto. Yeah. And right away, that's how my journey started on the outside. Yeah. You know, that's what I really wanted to get into. I did many other certifications before too, but this is the one that really I was passionate about, and I just kept on leveling up. Yeah. So now you're out. You move forward into building on things from there. You get certified. You become a trainer. So you're training for a bit. You started Kettlebell Club sometime later on. How have you been able to take your experience of being away where you don't have access to? You have access to things, but you don't have access to like the freedoms that people who are not in have, and apply to what you do now. How do you help your clients with that? Well, a huge example is COVID. When we shut down, we went straight to calisthenics and kettlebells because they can hold it. You know, we call it the handheld gym. Yeah. Because if you know what to do with it, you can train your whole body. So we kept our business going online, and we pivoted basically. I never stopped my services. Yeah. We just stopped, accepting people inside our gym for some period of time. But it was one of the ways where I was creative enough that I used that, and I helped people stay motivated during this time because people were depressed. Yeah. and their morals was much lower,
Right.
because they couldn't get out of their house.
Right.
They couldn't be near people.
Yeah.
So one of the ways where we connected was online,
Mm-hmm.
or we did some outdoor training whenever we could.
Yeah.
So we connected any which way possible, and it made me think about another way when I was locked up behind bars, that we were still locked up in a different way
Yes.
through COVID,
Yeah.
right? Especially as coaches and trainers, because it was almost like illegal to coach people or to train people in person.
Yeah.
So, that's when you do have to reinvent the wheel in a way where you have to create a hybrid model and help people online, no matter wherever they are in their world. You can train people and coach them,
Yeah.
support them online.
Yeah. So now you're able to take that, your experience being in, now we're in because of that. You mentioned, being depressed, anxiety, stuff like that, those things that people have experienced. May being Mental Health Month. Great time to discuss this topic in general.
Totally.
How do you connect with your clients in regards to those things? Like, do you have clients that had that kind of experience? They've come to you, they spoke to you about it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now it's not as much me. Like, I try to connect with as many members as possible.
Yeah.
But I have a team.
Okay, good.
And without my team, it wouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
Because my time is so limited. But I do try to connect to people in different ways. Like, I do public speaking.
Okay, nice.
And one of the main ways to connect to more people is doing it this way. Doing podcasts with you guys.
Right.
So I'm really grateful for that. But on the one-to-one basis, I connect with my students whenever I see them. We're always there to support people any which way possible, because everyone goes through hard times.
For sure.
Whether it's like one family member deceased, or they're going through a rough period, or sometimes they can't afford my training, so I'll make an arrangement with them so they can continue, right?
Yeah.
So whichever way possible. I don't consider myself a psychologist or a mindset coach.
Yeah.
We help people through training.
Yeah.
And I think for some people that's plenty.
Right.
Just getting them moving, it's one of the best therapies.
Yeah.
So we start with exercise, with movement. Then we help them with other habits.
Yeah. I agree with that though. Like, I'm a trainer as well. We're not therapists, but we do play an integral role in the mental health of clientele, because we're kind of like the first line of, I don't want to say first line of defense, but you interact with your family members and stuff, but most times you'll have clients who come to you first and say, hey man, I have this happening, like, I want to talk to you about something. And you're able to give them a listening ear so that they can open up. With that being said, who then is your listening ear? Like, you mentioned your team, but who would you say, or who are the people that you'd say that you really surround yourself around so that you can stay on the right
Absolutely.
mental
So
space?
mentors, number one, people that are at a higher place for where I want to be.
Yeah.
Whether that's in a business world or a coaching world or anything like that, is always have a mentor that someone that can follow you, or you can follow along their footsteps. Someone that is going to support you with whatever your goals are at.
Yeah.
It could be a trainer, a coach. For me, it's a business mentor that I have.
Okay.
Because we are 2 locations. It does get busy. We do have to stay on top of things. Gyms these days tend to be scarce, and I still see gyms closing down after COVID.
Yeah.
Because, people don't value it as much, I find. There's not necessarily a taboo, but it's, like you said, we're somewhat the first line of defense.
Yeah.
But people would always listen to their doctors first.
Yes.
And depending on what they say, they're always going to follow what they say.
Yeah.
If their doctors doesn't work out, they're probably likely to tell them to just take it easy and, I don't know about quit the gym, but hopefully the doctors recommend training.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to recommend to everyone. But this is what we're here to help, is to get people healthier.
Yeah.
But if you could find a great coach or someone that knows what they're doing, then you've got several steps ahead.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. I think that what you're saying is so on point, because people do try to find outlets when it comes to needing help with certain things, especially when it comes to the mental health aspect. It is best to turn to activity, because we know what endorphins do for your body, especially from a hormonal release, how it just frees your mind, and it just helps you to kind of escape a little bit. People will go into running, they'll go into stuff, but if exercise could be your vice, I'm not saying that training all day is not the best thing to do, but if exercise can be your vice versus alcohol versus drugs versus something else, then you're really not doing yourself much of a disservice unless you're obviously doing too much, which again could come to be a problem.
The thing with that is
Yeah.
it's one in very few that
Yes.
overdo it.
Yes.
And it's a very small percentage.
Yeah.
But if we can, encourage the masses to have this lifestyle change, that it should be part of every lifestyle. I think it was, if you were a Roman citizen, then you had to be part of some sort of physical culture.
Okay.
And if you didn't, then it looked at as a disgrace. If you were either a soldier, you were a citizen of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Something of that nature.
Yeah.
But, back in the day, we had to live with, by using our bodies.
Yeah.
We had to be very physical.
Yeah.
So years and years ago, because the technology now, we don't move as much.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
It's a good segue into that point. Obviously, you have a variety of clients that come from various backgrounds. Some people work in office jobs. Some people work, work from home. Some people are on their feet often a lot. How do you adapt what it is that you do to their life so that they're able to be more effective in what they do? Like, how are you able to apply the kettlebell method to that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We look at, we kind of look at what people are doing on a general basis, and we see patterns. We see that people sit down a lot for a living.
Yeah.
They don't move enough. So knowing that, we see situations where people come see us that they're not able to move as well.
Yeah.
So we want to first start there, start helping them move better, start opening up. Then we start strengthening at the same time, not before the movement. They have to have a good movement before they can strengthen their bodies.
Yeah.
So we take it into steps, and that's kind of our process. When someone is coming to see me and they've never exercised before, and that's a lot of the cases, we have to start slowly
From the
very beginning.
Yeah.
So we do simple things, but we keep people challenged no matter where they are. We can help anyone, I feel, unless you have a disability which doesn't allow you, but anyone can do basic movement patterns.
Yeah.
We have to start with something very easy that's doable, where they feel they're having success.
Right.
If they don't feel like they're having success, if they feel like they're struggling, they're not going to keep it up.
Yeah.
Right? So this is very important, just for them mentally saying, I can do this and I'm going to continue. I'm motivated to come back.
Yeah.
Right? So these little mini successes that we build with each client, each student, and we do it within a group setting.
Yeah.
So it's very nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
What you just said, tying into my question here, how did you utilize that same way of train of thought that you help your clients understand? Like, start from the beginning, build on small successes, grow from there, and have the belief that they could do things. Obviously, when you were in jail, sometimes that's hard to believe that you're going to come out one day, because you just don't know how, even if a sentence is like 5 years, in your case you were in for 7. Did you ever think at some point, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to actually make it out? Yeah.
It's not about necessarily saying that I'm going to give up, but just more like, how long is this going to last?
Right.
Because you can last anything, but then if it's longer, then you're going to feel like giving up.
Yeah.
But then the mind starts to kind of rationalize and say, how long potentially could I do this for? And then you find for mini solutions, or short-term objectives where I can give myself. Like, I had a calendar and I would just cross out every month. And I just said, I'm going to take it 1 month at a time.
Yeah.
So okay, this month I'm going to cross it out. What am I going to do this month? What am I going to focus on?
Yeah.
What's going to be my workout routine? So I can look forward to my workout routine and just focus on this.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in, of course, like setting goals. But then over there, I had like a hobby, which I was drawing a lot. So I'd spend my day drawing, training, reading, studying, doing a mix of those things. So it's just like looking forward to something, whatever that may be. It could be a visit from my mom. It could be ordering a new book, something I got into. Yeah. Whatever. Learning, right? Taking a course.
For sure.
So.
For sure. Well, I'm glad I gave you that opportunity to do that, and that you took
thanks.
that on, because obviously it has impacted the community a lot. I've seen in pictures, you have a growing community of people. People have come to know who you are, and you've been able to impact lives and do things like that. And you have something called the 6-week transformation challenge. Tell us more about that.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
It's a challenge that anyone can take on.
Okay.
And we help people, like I mentioned, with their habits. We help people with their exercise routine. It's not just about exercise coming to the gym, but it's also by being active every day. And you know this, people come see you for weight loss. Hey, I want to lose weight, but you're going to tell them that, hey, a big part of it is just moving your body, staying active all the time.
Yeah.
So, playing with your kids, going out, walking, doing any type of activity in combination with the gym is going to set you up for long-term success.
For sure.
Nutrition is a big part of it, so we give simple guidelines. Things like eating more protein, which may sound, too simple, but people don't eat enough protein.
Very cliche. It's very true.
Cliche, right?
Very true.
And then matching that with a nice plate of vegetables, with some fruits, with balanced macronutrients.
Yeah.
That's really what we recommend is simplicity.
Yeah.
But helping people, keeping them accountable, starting from somewhere, and helping them see slow, not necessarily slow change, but measurable change that they can see. Okay, I'm getting stronger. I'm starting to see difference in my clothes, how I feel. We're not trying to do anything extreme with people because they're not ready.
Yeah.
And it's hard to maintain, as you know.
For sure.
But there are programs for people like that want extreme makeovers or transformations. But we start people where they are. We meet people where they are.
Yeah. So a person like myself, because I'm a firm believer in coaches should have coaches.
Yes.
A trainer having a trainer, it makes sense.
Yes.
Like you could be the greatest athlete out there. Like look at Olympians, look at basketball players, baseball players who are like excellent at what they do. Hockey players, they all have coaches.
Yeah.
They have people that coach them. For a person I guess it depends on their experience is what you look at as to how much in detail you have to coach them. But do you give everyone the same level of close connectedness? Like for a person who is brand new versus a person who has been doing this for a number of years, is it the same sort of connectedness that you give them, or do you kind of go, okay, you who has been through this before, I can just kind of leave you on your own, but this person needs more of my attention? Like, how does it work? Yeah.
And you have to find a balance.
Okay.
If we're doing a group or a large group, that's what it's about.
Okay.
It's about finding a balance. It's about helping someone keep moving during a training, giving them some sort of challenge adequately wherever level they're at. And that's going to be the coach's job. If they're working with me privately, then it's a bit different. Then I can really solely focus on their specific needs.
Yeah.
But we have a program that is structured within a group setting that anyone could come in, and they're going to have to go through a few prerequisites before they start doing anything more advanced. Yeah. So we want to make sure people are doing things correctly, safely.
Yeah. What are some prerequisites that you would say that are part of the program?
For sure, like
it's hot in here. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why the heat is like.
For sure, like a proper hip hinge.
Yeah.
A proper squat. A proper plank.
Yeah.
A proper pull, you can say, or learning how to use the body in different movement patterns. That we're holding ourselves in an isometric position, especially the core.
Yeah.
People don't know how to breathe properly during exercise.
Very true.
They don't know how to engage. And also managing their fatigue or their performance. So keeping the quality really high with whatever they're doing. So I'm a firm believer in full body exercises or full body workouts where people are using as many muscle groups as possible with most exercises.
Right.
Because it becomes time efficient for people.
Yeah.
And they're short on time because they're busy. They got a life, a family, a job, right? So if I could shorten their workout time, make it more efficient at the gym, give them more results, they're going to continue.
You can build from there.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, I've seen some of these like transformation pictures. I've seen some of the engagement that people have had being at your studio, being right across the street. I promise you guys I'm going to be there because I think it's important that we continue to support. You did. Sorry, I'm checking my watch here, my camera there. You did a. I see it on your shirt. Strong First. That was last week.
I'm doing one every month.
Every month you do one?
Because I teach their courses.
Okay.
So I'm part of their, you could say, their leadership.
Okay.
And I've been with them for a number of years.
Yeah.
And it's Pavel's company.
Okay.
It's the gentleman that I told you about that I read the book.
Yeah.
And he's the one that created this, we call the School of Strength.
Okay.
We're international. And we do workshops all over the world.
Yeah.
I specifically do this region in Montreal. And we focus on kettlebells, body weight, barbell.
Cool.
I do other things like flexibility training, Indian clubs, breathing.
Yeah.
Things that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
So these are one of many of the tools that I use.
Okay. And in the Strong First, I saw some of the videos. They were practicing like hangs, dead hangs, for example, or like doing pull-ups and stuff like that. Is it it's a 1 day course, or is it like a several kind of a week period type of course that a person learns?
It's a 1 day course.
Okay.
And it's sectioned into 4 hours.
Okay.
So we have 3 levels, and each level is 4 hour blocks.
Okay.
The thing about these workshops is that we won't be teaching so many exercises per se,
Okay.
but we're gonna break them down into deeper sections.
Yeah.
So we have a saying that we're gonna, dig a mile deep. We're gonna dig one hole and dig a mile deep rather than dig many
Multiple holes, yeah.
multiple holes with just,
A little bit of space here and
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. 'Cause you save yourself a lot of energy, and also you utilize your time. You mentioned about being efficient. You're being more efficient with your time and with your energy with that. So moving forward, I mean, obviously everyone has like different workshops and stuff coming up. You mentioned Strong First, you do one every month. What's next that we can look forward to from you that you have upcoming?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a few things. We're doing a kettlebell workshop here in a few weeks.
Okay.
We're gonna be doing more body weight workshops.
Yeah.
And we're hosting a flexibility workshop
Okay.
this coming September.
Okay.
So I'll send you the link. We can post it out if you want to.
Please do.
But these are for anyone.
Yeah.
For trainers, for anyone that want to improve.
Yeah.
Some of them are more certification oriented,
Yeah.
where you could get certified,
Yeah.
and some of them are just for anyone that wants to use the tools
Yeah.
and learn about the system.
Yeah. Because well, mentioning that, when we met at the workshop that we did with the landmine workshop, have you been able to practice some of the stuff?
Not much.
I mean,
Not much.
it's funny. Kadeem
It was
said,
in my mind.
I know. Kadeem
Going
said,
through
he
it.
goes, have you been practicing? I said, no. I've been so busy trying to catch up with clients and stuff like that, and try and get some other things done. Like I mentioned before, my wife does taxes, so I was like heavy on that for a while, trying to just make sure all that stuff was out of the way. But you learn a lot about how your body moves. Because I mean, I've done stuff with landmine before, but not to the degree in which we learned, where I was actually like, man, I'm burning, all my lats and stuff were tired. And I know that when I've done kettlebell stuff, I'd like to think that I know what I'm doing. Like when it comes to swings and presses and stuff, I do a lot of things in my competitions. But obviously there's a technique and there's an art to it.
Yep.
Talk a bit more about the technique and the art to kettlebells.
You said it yourself.
Yeah.
Coaching is everything.
Yeah.
When you get a coach, and for us, this is our expertise. We like to hold ourselves as the gold standard of kettlebell training. So we take our techniques from the greatest athletes in the world, and we reverse engineer and we apply it to strength training, to kettlebells, to body weight. These are top level athletes, and we bring it to the masses, general population. What I mean by that is we take something and we break it down so anyone could eventually achieve it.
Yeah.
Whether that is a feat of strength, there's always a starting point for anyone, and that could be wherever you are at. In terms of, let's say, calisthenics, you start with something very basic like a plank, and you build it up to a push-up for someone, or a one-arm push-up or something challenging.
Yeah.
When it comes to weight training, it starts with just learning the movement with a lighter weight and then building up to a heavier weight, right?
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Right.
But for us, the way we use the body, we use full body tension. So when we're doing a press or a squat, we're integrating as much the upper body as we do the lower body in the exercise. And we're trying to maximize on this tension that we talk about. We integrate breathing as well. That's going to, you could say, supercharge the movement. So when we apply the mechanics and the muscular tension and the breathing, you become a machine.
Interesting. Interesting.
And
Okay.
you can also have strong endurance.
Yeah.
Where if you're looking for high endurance for whatever you're doing, there's a way to build your cells so your cells have more aerobic capacity.
Okay. That's amazing. I assure you I'm coming because kettlebells has always been something that has intrigued me. When I see, I mean, obviously you see.
I see you do some.
Yeah,
And
I
you're doing
try.
great, actually.
Yeah, you
You're
know
doing
what?
great.
I try, and actually I've had other athletes who were doing kettlebell. When I would do movements, they're like, "Oh no, you have to do this," and I would watch videos of like doing cleans, doing rows, doing stuff like that. And obviously those being the basics, but you can see that in the work that you do, it takes time to really fine tune the quality in what you do and the techniques that you perform.
Exactly.
Because obviously you don't want to get injured, you don't want other people to get hurt either. But also too, it comes down to taking the ego out of things and saying, okay, I'm here to learn this aspect of something that I know is going to benefit me in my everyday, or just in my activity altogether. And it's being able to take down that barrier and say, okay, I'm going to let Louka show me what it is.
Sure.
And then we are able to proceed.
We're going to focus on skill.
Yeah.
We're going to focus on quality, on perfect reps. And we're going to emphasize just like that awareness. When you think of your training more as a practice than a workout, things start to change a little bit. You don't think about how many reps or how much time or how much can I get in or calories I would need to burn. You're thinking of more how many quality reps can I get in this amount of time, and then come out of it still feeling kind of fresh and not burnt out, so I could come back the next day, maybe do something else or the same thing. So we practice a lot. So it's about frequency. We practice the same thing almost daily. I did a program for a year that I was doing swings for almost 5 days a week, every day for a year. And it got me really strong. And I could swing really heavy kettlebells beyond that point, and still do for sure.
Yeah.
And that program was a minimalist program. So I got into minimalist training.
Okay.
Where the exercise I chose was fewer. I choose fewer exercise, but I really maximized on the benefits of doing just those two things.
So you just focus on the quality of the reps as opposed to getting in like 10 exercises.
Correct.
And okay, that makes sense.
Correct. So I used to do a lot like 2 exercise programs, like swings and push-ups for weeks and weeks.
Yeah. And it just got you stronger.
Yeah.
I see how that makes sense though. I see how that makes sense. Sorry guys, I dropped my mic here. I see how that makes sense because there are some times where I'm like, I'm just gonna do this today. Maybe I might have mentioned to you, I do these competitions.
I know.
RX1, yeah. And a lot of the stuff that you end up doing is repetitive stuff. Like you end up doing like power cleans and stuff like that, overhead snatches. So you end up working on a lot of those things without having to do like 10,000 different things. And I know that I went to a workshop training conference some years ago for CanFit Pro. And the gentleman who was speaking, I can't remember his name. His name is Alvin something.
Cosgrove?
Alvin Cosgrove. And he said, you can benefit from a program that has 4 exercises. You just have to change the tempo, change the pace, change the resistance, change it to endurance. He goes, do that same 4 exercises pretty much every week or even every day. Vary what you do, and you will see the same benefits as if you were to do 10 different exercises. Why is it that people gravitate more towards the more then, if that's the case?
I think it becomes more of a bodybuilding mentality where they have to train every single muscle group.
Okay.
Whereas when you realize you cut out the unnecessary, you keep the things that will bring greater, you could say, benefit for your time, your investment in time and energy.
Yeah.
So things like that are more compound, or using more muscle groups. So even though you're working maybe one movement pattern, you're still working all your muscles all together all at once, all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to get stronger.
Yeah.
So then he talks about specialized variety, where you change the movement somewhat. Instead of doing overhead push, you're doing maybe a horizontal push.
Yeah.
Maybe change the angle, or use a bar instead of dumbbells,
Right.
or do body weight exercises.
Yeah.
And it's the same for kettlebells. It's movement patterns that we use. So you have a push, a pull, a squat,
Yeah.
or a hinge,
Right.
or maybe you'll add some core exercise like a carry or some swings or
Yeah.
conditioning movement, you know.
Okay.
And we keep it simple.
Yeah. Have you ever competed in a competition before? Kettlebell?
I have, and I've won. Actually, it was pretty interesting and intense. And I won based on my body weight strength ratio.
Yeah.
So there were some guys there that were much stronger than me, but I was stronger overall because of my body weight.
Got you. So meaning as in like if you weighed like 50 pounds less than another person, you lifting versus them lifting, the ratio.
Yeah, it was like
is
a
what
point
made you-
system.
Ah,
And
okay.
I won because of my low body weight compared to my strength level, like
Okay.
a relative strength.
Yeah.
Right.
So the gap there was a little
Yeah.
bit different. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Couple other things I wanted to ask you about your foundation. Well, actually, one question I wanted to ask you about in regards to the fitness industry. So now you've been doing this now 12 years, and it's been obviously been growing. You were just telling me just now, like you get people often. It just continues to roll in from there. When you look at where you started from to where you are now, is there anything that you would have done differently in the beginning that might have accelerated your results or your success a lot sooner, or are you okay with what you've done?
I'm
so
okay
far?
with what I've done.
Yeah.
There's some decisions along the way that I could have probably thought out a bit better.
Yeah.
That now I'm kind of stuck with. I've got to make the wrong the right.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
But you learn along the way, and it's about learning from the mistakes. You know, you make multiple mistakes along the way. That's cool.
Yeah.
As long as you correct that.
Yeah.
And you don't keep repeating it, right?
For sure. What have you seen? What have you seen that has changed over the 12 years that you've been doing this?
My maturity, for sure.
For sure.
You could say my overall bigger vision
Yeah.
has changed. Now we have a team of 10 people.
Okay.
So we have employees, we have families
Nice.
that we work with. So, you know, my business helps other families
Yeah.
as well. You know, we
Yeah.
employ people, and then we help people get stronger at the same time, the community, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point that you've now are able to benefit other families too,
Yeah.
and help them to build in the community that you have. What would you say are some of your biggest challenges then of being in the position that you're in?
Dealing with people on a constant basis, because managing people is like an art to itself.
It
If
is.
you don't have thick skin, if you don't have emotional intelligence, and you're not able to, you could say, respond rather than react,
Yeah.
you're not going to be a good manager or leader. You have to lead people as well, not necessarily always based on how you feel, but
Yeah.
what needs to get done. And there's a lot of things that always need to get done on a constant basis.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's setting emotions aside and working with different people. You learn about other people's characters, and it just becomes something that you have to deal with on a
Yeah.
constant basis.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head when you said learning how to respond versus react. Reaction and response obviously applies to in your exercise. Like you can react to a certain movement, you can react to something not working the way that it does, but in your response, you're able to learn more about yourself. You build resilience, you build on your techniques and stuff. How has understanding that concept of reaction versus response, or response versus reaction, how has that helped you? Not just helped you in business, but also just personally too.
The key word is patience,
Okay.
because even when I was locked up, you had to be patient.
Yeah.
You had to wait. I was a professional waiter. You had to wait for
Yeah.
things to come to you, or to get stuff, or for things to happen.
Yeah.
And it's okay to let some things happen on their own, like let the course of something happen. And being patient gives you better perspective overall, because everyone has their own perception of things. But if you can step back and have a bigger overview of the environment, the situation, the ecosystem you're in,
Yeah.
you could say the economy that we're in as well, you can project in the future.
That's cool. That's cool. I mean, everything that you've explained as far as like what you've done, how you've had to, overcome a lot and have to, move in the direction that you've moved in, obviously has proven to be beneficial for you.
Yep.
And beneficial for a lot of people. I'll ask you this question. We often mention about like transformations people have had, impact that you've had on people. What would you say has been your greatest achievement thus far, as far as like with your clientele?
Well, my clientele
Could be a person, could be persons, doesn't matter.
Great question. You know,
Yeah.
I have a few people that are really highly dedicated, and I'm really proud of that.
Just know that they're listening, okay? I'm kidding, but hopefully they are.
There's a few things I'm proud of, but I can't say anyone specifically, but it's just continuing on to inspire others, and me finding, you could say, the strength to go on, because I'm human like everyone else.
Yeah.
And sometimes people look up to you and they think you're invincible or something can't go wrong, but things go wrong, even though I don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But things happen behind the scenes. And as a leader, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that I have to put everything out there or be vulnerable all the time, but because you're dealing with the public, you do have to keep a certain allure about who you are, who you could say, what you represent in a way, you know, and that image or your vision that you want to put out there to people. Yeah. Right? I definitely have a private life, and I try to keep those separate.
Those things separate.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's very important for you know, from someone like myself as well. But you know, like you were saying, I think moving forward, it's really about helping others. It's about serving others. Yeah. Not being just about myself. Yeah. About other people. So if I focus on others, when you're too focused on yourself, you know, your ego tends to get in the way.
For sure.
Right? So I'd rather focus on others and help people with whatever their objectives.
Yeah, for sure. You know? And we definitely appreciate that because, like I said, you've had such a profound impact on the fitness community in Montreal. Your experiences have led you to where you are, and it's helping people to get to where they're going to as well. Speaking of ego, not yours. I have had this conversation with several trainers in regards to collaborations and why here in Montreal it's so hard to get people to come together. You have a workshop. You have several workshops that I'm hearing about now that you have put on Facebook before, and I would love to have been able to attend, but, you know, circumstances, scheduling, stuff like that. Other people are putting out different events. They're doing different things that they're trying to get people to engage in. And yet we still have a lack of, like, support in those areas because maybe you haven't seen in your instance because you have a dedicated community, but it was always great to see other professionals, trainers and stuff come and support these type of things. What do you think is really the basis behind why we don't have enough of these things happening? Some people have said like, oh, you know, there's a language barrier, blah blah blah. There's
I was gonna say that, but it could be a little bit deeper than that. Yeah. Could be somewhat of a cultural thing. You know, who knows? Yeah. If we focus on the good, then that's all we can. We have to focus on what we can control. Yeah. I think in our shoes. And keep promoting collaborations as much as possible. Yeah. Regardless. But there's always going to be the case where people want to do their thing, and that's okay. Yeah. It's totally cool. Yeah. You know, I think people have their own belief system when it comes to fitness. Yeah. And that's when people tend to go apart. Right. When they're too stuck on their own belief system. Right. For whatever that may be. Yeah. And they don't want to, you could say maybe share, they're not open-minded to others. Yeah, and that's it where the enemy gets stuck. Well, that's why I brought up ego, because that was another thing it was said. It was like, oh, sometimes it's ego. People just don't want to come together because they don't want to be like, not associated with somebody, but, you know, people want to be the star in their own movie. And that ends up running into the way. And I was saying this because I know that, like, a trainer was mentioning to me that in the United States, collaborations happen all the time. In Toronto, even, that's where I'm from, there's a company that does this type of stuff on a regular basis. They have they use like a soccer field, and they have like multiple trainers that come and they do their thing, which I think is it's cool because you get an element of so many things. And I think that if we were to put something together here in the city, in Montreal, whether you're French speaking, whether you're, you know, you speak another language, Spanish, Asian, doesn't matter.
if we got people together to do something of that nature, I think it would be so impactful that you'd get communities, like people in different training communities coming together to learn and trainers learning from each other and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love that idea. I was
Yeah.
thinking about that the other day. I think we should do an event and get a bunch of people together and do this.
Yeah, because there's so much that people can benefit from kettlebells, right? Being a person who's an advocate of mental health, there's so much that people can benefit from that information. There's so many ways that we can learn from each other that I love taking part in. And I know that you've enjoyed that as well yourself. That there needs to be more of that sort of connection. I think that right now is the best time to make it happen. I was saying this to somebody just earlier today, and she said, "Do it, just do it, just make it happen." But it's tough because even when it comes to something like supporting a podcast, right? It's always challenging because people will go, yeah, it's cool, but they won't really go and listen. But they'll listen to somebody who they don't know or doesn't know them. It's the same thing when it
So you
comes
get
to
more strangers following you then.
there you go. It's just the same thing when you have brands, right? It's like if you had a brand of kettlebells, let's say for example, clothing line, doesn't matter.
I do actually.
Okay.
I have a line of kettlebells.
Okay. So now at least I know I can get my kettlebells from, right? Instead of me going to another brand and saying, okay, this brand doesn't know me, I'm going to support the person I know, right? Which I think there should be more of this type of exchange. Will it ever happen? I don't know. We just have to do what we can to make things happen, respond to it as opposed to react. So
you're saying more communal support.
For sure, man.
Local support.
For sure.
Business supporting each other.
That's how people grow.
That's how people grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because look, if you depended on not random strangers, but people who are like around other places to really support your branding, it's not that you would be waiting for a long time, but it'd be way more difficult. And people gravitate towards like word of mouth. Oh, I know this person. I know them for a fact. And that's what spreads. As opposed to you have some random person in Australia who goes, yeah, I did this course and it's whatever. Like it's not going to really generate the kind of interest
Won't
that
help
you
you
want.
the same way
Exactly.
you want it to.
And everyone just stays connected.
I think it depends on what you're trying to build.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, bottom line, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to grow something local or online or international?
Yeah.
I've got a YouTube channel that's international subscribers, right?
Nice.
So I can't control
Yeah.
from where the person is gonna
Yeah.
be from when they subscribe.
For sure.
But I love helping the community, the local aspect, because hey, I've got a location
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah.
I think that's important. And there's different ways of building your notoriety,
Mm-hmm.
many ways.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're an entrepreneur, you have to manage your time.
Yeah.
So it's how you decide to promote yourself,
Yeah.
to market yourself.
Yeah.
And it's always a time thing. How am I going to do it? What's my objective?
Yeah.
How many people am I trying to reach?
Yeah.
Am I doing a one-time event, or am I supporting a long-term community, or you could say a movement,
Yeah.
right?
Does make a difference for sure.
So I think you have to choose what our objectives are
Yeah.
when it comes to that.
For sure. For sure. Well, man, listen, Louka, I really appreciate you coming
Yeah.
and sitting down and having this conversation. We're obviously going to have a part 2. I always have a part 2 with people that I invite as well, because there's always more information to share. I have one last question to ask you,
Yes.
though, before we conclude. If you were to have a conversation with a younger version of you, the person who just gets into jail, and knowing what you know, you're able to impart on them things that they need to be aware of, not spoiling their future, because obviously that person came out, became successful, grew a business, and everything grew from there. But knowing what you know now, what would you tell that person, that younger version of you, things to be aware of, things to be conscious of, what things that they can like be prepared for?
I would just tell them one thing.
Yeah,
It's going to be okay.
I like that.
Stop worrying,
Yeah,
because you're always worrying too much.
yeah,
And then in the end, it's more than you thought it would be.
for sure, for sure.
We make things more than they are in our
Yeah.
heads. And that's what keeps us stuck.
There you go.
The fear, the unknown, right?
Yeah,
But really, we're like resilient creatures. We have so much mental strength. You have no idea,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So we're able to go through anything.
Yeah.
It's just you have the will to keep on.
To keep going from there.
To keep going.
Have you ever heard of the 40% rule?
No, but I've heard of a certain percent rule.
Yeah. So the 40%
80, 20,
rule,
I know this one.
the 40% rule is the what Navy SEALs use, which is when you've done something and you think you've reached your max, you're only at 40%, which means you still have another 60 to go. Which is the basic understanding of it is that when we think we reached our most, if we wait for a second, we have more. Like if a person can only do 20 push-ups in a row, if you wait a couple of seconds, you could do 2 more. Wait a couple of seconds, you do 6 more. So you're actually never finished, which means you still have a capacity still to go, still to grow, still to learn from that. And thankfully for you, you didn't stop at where you stopped. You just kept going. And it's built into what it has built into, and it continues to grow from there. So I'm really happy to have this conversation and get to know a bit more about your programming, understand your mindset, your background. We have a lot to learn from, and still more to come. I'm coming to your gym. We're going to get that workout in for sure. As you know, the First Five Back in the Building again is available on Spotify, Apple, Google, and now Amazon Music, in addition to other streaming platforms around the world. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at the First Five Podcast for your weekly dose of mental motivation and inspiration as we aim to help you to be the best version of you, 1% at a time. Also, for free fitness game and movement inspiration, make sure to follow us at goodfit_fitness as well. More episodes, more interviews, and more energy like today is on the way. So please continue to keep it locked, keep supporting. Check out his YouTube channel as well, and make sure you guys visit the Kettlebell Club in Point Claire, guys. It's your boy, Coach K. It's Louka Kurcer. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you, my guy. And we're out, guys. Take care.
This is your time now, chase it. Run hard, tell me what you found, now face it.